Hey everyone, Georgie here with Global Matters now, and welcome to the Opinion channel. Now, we're going to be talking about drones, drone warfare, and specifically the question that started this discussion. Discussion was always there. It's just what kicked this video off was whether or not Switchblade drones are useless, are they good, are they bad, and what's the situation with the drone warfare in general. All in all, drone warfare, we've seen that it is becoming increasingly important. And as with any warfare, it skyrockets the tempo of advancement in drone warfare. We have had drones used by US, but the situation in which US used drone warfare was very specific to the situation that US was in. It was the area where US had pretty much full area control. It was the situation where they needed precision striking on specific objectives, so it wasn't like, mass warfare. And a lot of those situations created series of drones that were not well suited for this kind of warfare that we are having in Ukraine right now. The first rule of drone making that has been established by the war in Ukraine is that price matters. With drones that Ukraine is using, the more, let's put it this way, the less strategic level of a drone it is, the less should be the price of that drone, unless you can secure the airspace. And we see that in a peer-to-peer combat where there is no air dominance, a lot of these older type drones, if I can say so, they have proven themselves to be very challenged in their operations and very limited in their capabilities. What did saw a lot more action was commercial, smaller scale, cheaper drones from like Mavics, DJI company, and so on and so on. Many other ones, especially also FPV drones, the ones that were designed initially for just drone racing. They've been just attached with small explosives, and now they're blowing up tanks left and right. And this describes very well in which direction we're going. We're going to see a lot more cheaper drones produce at a larger scale, because economics of scale has never failed anyone. So we will see drones being cheaper, lighter, easier to produce, and most importantly, standardized. We're going to start seeing standards for a lot of these drones. On this aspect, the question of how did the Switchblade drones fared in this battlefield, because Switchblade drones were designed supposedly to help fill this niche for the US military. And the problem was that US military didn't really had a need, at least they didn't see a need for these kind of drones. I mean, it is nice that you can hit an enemy with a certain precision in like 30-kilometer radius, but I'm pretty sure not Ukrainians, but Americans would rather be like about a couple 100 kilometers away from their target, and they would like to hit a fly in a glass in a bar from that direction. That was kind of the goal. So when Ukraine said, okay, we need these field drones, and Switchblade came up and said, yes, we have some, the problem initially arose that Switchblade 300 drones, which were their anti-personnel that was developed by this company, while useful, had two very significant flaws. First one, they were still following the doctrine that there is pretty much like a one specific target that needs to be eliminated. So the spread of their weapons, the ammunitions, like in the way that the detonation blast spread from them, from the warhead of that drone, the shrapnel was very directed. So the damaging area was not as large as some of the Mavic drones that had just a grenade attack and dropped from them, because it was like more like a cone that is directed towards a specific target. And then the second part was that drone was considered to be used against an enemy that doesn't really have a complicated defense mechanism, especially not electronic warfare systems. So a lot of his channels were very open, and he was the drones. They were not very well shielded from electronic warfare. That was the initial response, and since then, that drone has been essentially, wouldn't say discontinued, but it was reworked in a lot of sense to fit Ukrainian situation. So since then, we know that Ukrainians have been using Switchblade drones to a greater extent, and they have proven themselves quite nice. I know maybe some of you don't really see, oh, but we don't see the footage from Switchblade that often. That is true, but it's mostly because we are looking at the world in a sea of videos from any other drones. And this is where the price matters, and because price also describes the quantity. The number of Switchblade drones that were delivered to Ukraine is not nearly enough for Ukrainian needs. The number of drones that Ukraine is using is thousands and thousands and thousands per day. Drones are like being churned on a larger scale. Switchblades take a very small fraction of that. So that's why when we're seeing drone footage, only few of those are from Switchblade drones. With any kind of striking drone, you should expect that the strike capabilities, for example, of FPV drones are 1 in 5. So there's about 20%, sometimes even like 15% striking. So you need basically to 100% strike a target, you need more than 5, sometimes 6, 7 FPV drones. Switchblades might be a little bit more sufficient, but again, if you see 1,000 Switchblade drones delivered, we should expect that it's only a third of them at max that will be able to strike the target. So there would be, for example, some kind of video footage showing for it. And sometimes that video footage is like showing a Switchblade drone striking, a vehicle. Well, that's not very exciting, is it? All in all, this was the initial Switchblade drone. Now, the second part has become a lot more interesting. It's the Switchblade 600. Switchblade 600 is a Switchblade drone that was in development. There was some initial pieces that were available, but those were in tens, counted in dozens, not in hundreds, not in thousands. It was just an experimental piece at the moment when Ukraine just requested the Switchblade 600s. And Switchblade 600s is a drone that flies up to 40 kilometers, and it strikes targets almost like and damages them. It basically has a Javelin warhead. Let's put it this way. Javelin anti-tank missile system. It's very good. It's very big explosion, big boom. Pretty much nothing survives. And Switchblade 600s had pretty much the same warhead. And those drones have proven themselves incredibly effective. Russians, whenever you look up for Switchblade 600s and find out information about them, are just weeping. In a large sense, right now, current genocide of Russian artillery is to do also with these drones operating. They are comparable. Well, they're not comparable. It's more like the other way around. Lancet drones, Russian Lancet drones, can be compared to the Switchblade 600. But Lancet drones, even the new upgraded version 1, are still worse than the Switchblade 600. But the biggest question with Switchblade 600 drones is how many of them. And the unfortunate part is it's still being delivered maybe in half a hundreds, like a couple of hundreds of drones. It's just not enough. It's better than just a Switchblade 300 because Switchblade 600, like 100 of those, is better just because the targets that they strike are just more valuable. So even if 3 of these drones get shut down and then the 4th one destroys an artillery piece, well, that's drones paid for themselves. So even if just 100 of them are delivered, that's already like 25 really massive equipment pieces that Ukraine got to destroy. That is the sense of the war. So if we're finished answering the question about Switchblades, the biggest focus of Switchblades, I believe right now, is going to be towards the expensive 600 model, just because the complex and high technology pieces that they're using are suited well to destroy expensive equipment. But if we're talking about smaller drones, then I don't believe that they're beating the price on some of the cheaper markets. So I believe the Switchblade 300 drones will be phased out. As we see drone technology advance, my predictions is we're going to start seeing firstly more drones, and we're going to start seeing more coordinated attack, because what I'm not seeing right now still is a coordinating swarm attack. Everyone has been discussing that swarm technology is very important for drones, but so far has been a lot of PowerPoint presentations, a lot of videos, but not much really delivered in a sense of an actual performance. But I do believe that because of this war, this technology will emerge quite fast. And this is going to be even more important with the naval drones that Ukraine has been using. They are evolving incredibly fast. From a first generation vessels where we saw they were just trying to ram into Russian ships and being dependent on the Starlink technology, now they are already quite advanced. They're going for thousands of kilometers. They're able to do complex maneuvers. They're staying online for a navigator to control it. It's incredible, that technology, and they're going to continue advancing. And I believe that when Ukraine will be satisfied with their naval drone technology, and they're gonna saturate the Black Sea with these drones, that's going to change naval warfare in principle. So we're going to see, because all these big expensive ships that takes decades to build can be taken out by a drone that costs, I don't know, $100,000 and can be built in a month. That is a very disproportional ratio, and that is something that I believe every navy of every country will look with dread towards. But potentially we might see the era of big ships slowly coming to an end, in a sense that the scale of it, maybe they will stay big and heavy and important ships, but they will not be as close to the coastline. So we will see even longer range missiles. Again, there are possibilities. I invite everyone to share their opinion on the development on the sea battles in the future. It's a very interesting topic. Please share it here, share it on Discord, go to Ukraine Matters channel, check that out. I talk about daily, well, not daily, but like war updates there. And I will put more updates videos here on this channel. I love you all, guys. Slava Ukraini, and I'll see you next time.